Hey guys, Skilled Legend here, and today I wanted to talk about something that's kind of important to me. I kind of want to make a rebuttal to Alpha Team Killer's video that he just did the other day. If you haven't seen it, I'd go say check that out. There is a few things that he kind of messed up though. I didn't actually say that the series tanked in comparison to the X, Y, and Z series. I said that it tanked in viewership over the last 2 weeks, and that um, he made a point that the ratings have been dropping since the beginning of time with Pokemon. While that is true, um, I also did mention the 2.0 episode, which was the finals of the Colors League, that he said that I kind of left out, but it was kind of a long conversation, so I don't really blame him for not noticing that. But I did say that it tanked, but I didn't mean it in the aspect of, you know, X, Y, and Z to Sun and Moon. I did want to do this video because I do agree with a lot of the things that he said, but there are some things that I disagree with what he said. But firstly, the things that I agree with him is that I do believe that the source of the problem is not necessarily Pokemon. It's probably has to do with Tokyo TV. Because as he said, um, and you could go watch that video, I'll post a link to it in my description. But he posted some things from other channels and other primetime shows that they have um, on those different channels, and they've had consistent ratings and very high consistent ratings for the whole year. Well, if you look at the if you look at Tokyo TV's ratings for Pokemon and their other shows, they can be anywhere from you know last year or during X, Y, and X, Y, and Z, they could be anywhere from 5 to 2, like we just said. Um, and it's very sporadic, and the ratings are not that good. Now, I don't know if it has to do with the whole um, reputation of the channel. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that the other things are the other channels are better at promoting their stuff. I don't know if it has to do with the time slots, because like when I used to get up and watch X, Y, and Z episodes, like because they're 15 hours ahead of where I live, so it'd be like 3 in the morning at my time. I would get up so that I could watch it at 4. There'd be episodes of NCIS, then there'd be episode of some cooking show, and then right before Pokemon they had like oh gosh, it was some type of talk show. It was almost like a news show, kind of like Good Morning America, but during the evening. I don't know. It was kind of weird. And then they would have Pokemon. Now I don't know if like that's typical of all channels, but it seems very kind of different from you know what America does. They usually like keep some kind of consistency and put everything that is related onto one channel. Like, the news is all on one channel, then you have your local channels with their news and then their programming, and then you have like the cartoons, and then you have the weather all on these. It's not as sporadic. Like, you don't have NCIS with a episode of Pokemon afterwards. Like, they have their time slots and their availabilities very different. Unless they're like adult cartoons and such. But anyways, so I don't know if that's like the big issue there. Um, I don't know if these other channels have streaming sites, but I know that Tokyo TV doesn't. Uh, One of the biggest things that like one of my favorite shows used to do was if you guys have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, when Korra came out, they were struggling with TV ratings on Nickelodeon. So what they did was they put the next season on to Netflix, and the TV ratings, because those count as TV ratings, they skyrocketed. They skyrocketed so much that Nickelodeon was like, "What are we doing? Let's put this show on our own channel." And that's what they did. They ended up putting it on their own website instead of having it on Netflix, where people had to um, purchase access to watch the show. And so their impressions went up on their site, and they got more viewers than ever before for that series, and it worked out really well for them. And that's something that Tokyo TV could do to get more viewers, but I don't know if the other sites, or excuse me, the other channels have those kind of sites, and that's why they have such consistent viewers. I don't know, but I do feel like Tokyo TV is part of the problem that Pokemon is having keeping their consistent viewership, because it's just always so sporadic while other channels have consistent viewers. Now it's on to the things that I don't really agree about with Alpha, and he said that the show is for kids and kids don't really care about character development, relationships, that kind of thing. They're just there for the Pokemon. Okay, so yes, maybe in the past Pokemon was just for kids, but recently Pokemon has been becoming more and more for adults. Well, not particularly adults, but teenagers. Um, as a few of you know, Templars, Official, myself, Luke, uh, all talked about that post that was back in October of 2015 about the top anime girls with short hair, top 20, that was done in Japan, and how Serena was on it. Now, that's not like the focus of what I'm talking about today, but it does play a significant impact of what I was talking about, because basically what it was kind of like a site that does polls for Japanese anime fans, but they did it on YouTube. So basically they put out their little ad and was like, okay, uh, we're going to do this poll. Go ahead, sign up, do the poll. Anyways, what it ended up doing was they picked 10,000 people and, you know, pulled the girls. I know that you could say, okay, well, it, was about, uh, it was about all anime girls. But the thing is Serena was on this poll, which means that the people voting, which I'll get to in a minute, were voting for Serena, and basically these people were not kids. They were actually mostly, you know, of a certain age group, which I'll get to the statistics part of it in a minute. But what I'm trying to say is, like, this poll, you could pick any of the anime girls with short hair that they had on this probably 50 or so character list. I'm not gonna assume too much out of it, but like what I'm saying is, like, yeah, you could just say, okay, well, you know, uh, all these other shows could have been teenage shows. Well, that was just the kids show, and they just picked Serena on there for funsies. But like I said, she was in the top of this, so that means that Pokemon was actually watched by a significant number of this group. But anyways, the statistics were that it was 10,000 Japanese uh, people who lived in Japan, Japanese viewers, and 60% of them were males. So that number is a little bit skewed. I mean, it's not hugely skewed because it's 40, 60 percent, which isn't too bad. It could have been a lot worse, but also it was 68% of the people who voted were between the age of 13 and 20. Well, actually, it said teenagers and 20. So, the 20s. So I'll say, let's say, we want to get a little angsty and say that 12 is a teenager, and since they said 20s, we'll say 20, 21. But still, 68%. That means the other 32% were either below that age or over that age that voted. So, I mean, it's significant to say that these people are teenagers or they're just turning 20 years old, and those kinds of things are important to those kinds of age groups. Relationships, character development, they all make for good stories, and that these kids would not, they're not just kids that would only care about Pokemon. Another big point that I wanted to make is that right before the game came out, and I'll also post this. I'll post both of those links on there just in case you guys are interested in seeing um, the results of the poll. But the other thing that I want to talk about is something that Masuda said. It was an interview with Masuda and the developer of the game. Sorry, I'm terrible with names and I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. But anyways, he got interviewed by a company in the UK, or I think it was a blog in the UK. Anyways, don't quote me on that because I'm having a blank on it, but I'm remembering what he said. Um, anyways, this company did a interview with him. It was, I think, 2 days before the U.S. release, and they asked them a bunch of questions about the Sun and Moon games. But the last thing that I asked them is there anything else you guys would like to say to the fans of Pokemon? Um, and Masuda's last comment was the typical, we want to make this game for everyone to celebrate the 20 years of Pokemon, whether you're an old fan or a new fan. And the last thing he said in the article was that, um, I'm sorry, I'm having kind of a. But the last thing he said basically in the article was that the game was no longer just targeted at children. We weren't explicitly targeting children, and that we want this game to be made for anyone and everyone, especially the fans who have been playing the games are playing the games for the last 20 years. And so, if the one of the things that Alpha pointed out was that the anime is more targeted at trying to promote the game. If that were true, then wouldn't it be safe to say that the anime would also follow suit and want to be targeted to everyone or a more mature audience as well? Because this is the 20th year anniversary and they wanted to make something special for those people who have been playing for 20 years because it is the promotional tool for the game. So, I mean, yeah, it may be that they may not be taking that approach, but it's also just safe to say that you can't just assume that this is a show for kids because it's really been proven that there are some things that go against that whole it's a kids show vibe that the game and anime have been giving off for the last couple of years. At one point, it was explicitly a kids show. But now I'm not so sure. I don't know. It depends on where the Sun and Moon anime ends up going. But I just wanted to make kind of a little rebuttal. I would really love if Alpha would um, watch the video, and if he has any comments, make a reply video because I love doing these kinds of debates. We're actually really good friends, and we do this all the time. So, anyways, tell me what your guys' thoughts are. Do you guys have any opinions on whether the Pokemon anime, if there's anything that they can do to get these ratings back up? Do you think that it's Tokyo TV's fault? Or do you know anything about why these ratings are so fluctuating all the time? Or do you even care, or do you just want to, watch the anime for certain things, for certain characters, and for certain reasons? Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later.